July 15th, to the morning, attendance myself and the selectmen, also the selectmen, in the meeting selectmen, Steve Hayes and finance for the town. We have guests here attend from the Select Council Development, which will be on for agenda number 3. Prior to that, we do have public comments on agenda and non-agenda items. The board of selectmen respectfully request that all comments do not exceed 2 minutes per person, respect for everyone's time. We have a person attendance here at the meeting. We do also have online attendance at the meeting. So what I'll do is see if there's anyone in person, and then we'll just go online. We'll have if there's anyone. And I do think that meetings with us to manage the online, so I'll ask the first comment. If there is a comment from anyone in person, to just come up to the microphone, turn it on, and see if those online and also give a comment. Public comments.
Hello. I don't mean to interrupt, but on the Zoom, you cannot be heard. I apologize for butting in.
I can't hear.
I heard you say.
I'm also getting texts saying that.
Okay.
Oh, that sounds better. I can hear that.
What's that? Who was that that spoke?
287-6667.
Said Leonard. The other talking is muffled. Is that you, Juliet?
They think I'm talking to them and I'm not. So that's what it is. Okay.
So no one can hear us online?
No, they said they could hear better. They said they can't hear me and I don't have my microphone on, so they shouldn't be hearing me.
Can you hear me, Ed? Ed, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I can hear you a little bit. Before it was really bad, and whoever was talking before is very clear. The one who said they didn't have their microphone or something, they're very clear. But you're a little muffled, Mike.
Oh, so you were keywords there. Because you don't have a microphone. But you can hear me, Ed? Yes?
Yep, a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
That's
better.
okay.
Thank you.
So I'll take if there's public comment in the room. It's like Sean has stepped up to the microphone. Sean Murphy, you recognize? Hi, thank you. I just wanted to, I've been in communication with via email with Mike, and we were Brian Mayor across the street, discussing the fact that we still have issues in Kingswood with drainage. Friday morning storm, the rains were able to keep up with the volume of water that came down. On Friday evening, I guess we had quite a rain because the rain in front of my house, almost in front of my house, so the corner of my lot. Backed up and also across the street the green in the Brian's driveway and they're in the archive. Both of those backed up. On the line of debris on a car tire in my driveway, I could tell that it drains water in my driveway because it was pumping. Back up the street. The water level was like 6 or 7 inches high. And that is, although I do look at my garage, the fire department inside the wall was not that, so it must have stopped just short of that. And very lucky. Fortunately, Brian wasn't quite as lucky to be all up to speed. So I think the town is responsible for the drainage system. all know it's been a pain, maybe it never should have been signed off on years ago, but we found on it now. Even more needs to be done so that people there and they don't live in fear of flooding. I actually had on Friday during the day, I had my sandbag stick in front of my garage door, only to take them down after the rain, but I didn't know that it was going to rain again on Friday night. But, it's a terrible way to live. A lot of raised ranches in Kingswood where the lower level of the raised ranch, mine is fully finished. I have a bedroom, bathroom, a laundry area, which carpeted, carpeted and so forth. Family room down there. And the raised back up. There has at times, not since, I haven't had anyone in the house since the drainage was worked on in Kingswood, but it's been in the garage. The difference is the slab is like each and a half higher in the house, so even that close to coming in the house. But, I think the town should needs to look into it further. Like census required, you can email, I don't know where you got the Selectmen, that you need from Ryan's, in front of his house, and then an additional pipe going to the corner of Old Colony and Kingswood. I know since all the water is going there, either one of those, I don't know if it's splitting them. I would hope that both town considers hiring engineers to look at it, see what it is. Workforce, I hate to see the town pay the money to put that line in and then move up. I hate to see us take the roads and things would drive itself when we haven't really limited afterwards. We talked about running the camera through the lines. They did try to do that. They weren't successful in doing the into the pipe that goes from the catch towards Old Colony, where it will get all the way through. I think it might be water table itself in the neighborhood, rising to a point where it's blocked. So thank you for your comment. Just to wrap it up, I'll say that we need to also consider adding another outlet, possibly from the end of Sharon Lane through properties and across Greenwood out to the swamp. The entire all of the Laurelwood, Rhonda, Sharon, Kingswood, Capitol, multiple column, Ravenwood, all of the same outlet. We might consider adding an outlet, breaking that in half. Sorry. Any comments on line, Bailey?
I don't see any hands raised.
Any other comments in the audience? Brian Waiter, 26 Drive, first time here. I just want to reiterate what Sean said. Thank you for taking the time to get all the information. I know we met before. And Don, your maintenance and stuff like the house, spent some time looking at my garage and I say the water, more than 2 or 3 inches, we have 8 inches project wall up. And it's a concrete wall that keeps the water from going in. So we've had to clean the car a few times. Had some destroyed items. So I did wake up around 1 o'clock, went out, my rain put on, and it was torrential rain. I have to admit that. It was very, very fast. And I went out with my cell phone, I turned the light on, and the water was about 6 inches from the top of the grate. The water totally filled in there. Went back to the sleep, came down about an hour later, stepped on the floor, and pouring the water. So I just want to reiterate that I think the best thing to do would be to add an additional line on my side of the street. Looking at the chart that we have, there's nothing on my side of the street except for that one register. So all the water that comes down from where the road is graded, all that water is rushing from that grade. So it's too much for that grade. I think what happens once that fills, it shuts down the whole system on that road. And that's why it's flooding. And adding the additional outlet might make a difference. Thank you.
Just so this might be aware, I was out today. Most of the neighborhood were not actually drainage working well. These two houses are a little lower, the grade is lower. So I think adding this line is something that's not an expensive thing for us to do. But we're going to do that for the it's gone. Any other comments? Moving on. Agenda item number 3, Southeastern Connecticut Council Government's presentation of Route 2 sidewalk conceptual design. So selected we have a number, we voted favorably to move forward with this idea of sidewalks on section 2. We've had safety issues, we've had fatalities, and we have more people actually using portions of Route 2, walking on Route 2. So we want to make sure that is there anything we can do to make a safer situation? There's federal funding, there's state funding, there's funding opportunities for doing something like this. But in order for that to happen, we need to have some sort of design in order to actually apply for funding. So part of what I have done was spoken with the council governments, and they were willing to work with us on conceptual design. They were able to contract with a company to put this together. We had a couple of meetings with myself, DOT, Donnie, council governments, and really talked about potential needs out there. This is really exciting. There was a cost, it's a substantial cost that the council governments invested in this study. So I thought it was important, especially since there could be going to change administration from that this information was disseminated to the public so that everyone knows it's on. It's something that we want to try to move forward. So without further ado, Kate, if you want to take maybe 10 minutes or less to kind of go through your presentation, and I said the selectmen want to change seats to be able to see that sort of something on the screen. I'm going to move because I can't see very well from my vantage point. Okay, I'll just give the floor to you.
Great. Since I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing, I'm just going to go ahead and ask if maybe Bailey could reiterate any questions at the end, and I'll try and answer them then. All right, so thank you. I'm Kate Rattan. I'm from Southeast Council of Governments, and I will start the presentation. Here we go. Oops. As I said, I'm from Southeast Council of Governments. This is the, we perform the functions of the Regional Metropolitan Transportation Planning Organization, and we are pivotal in trying to program some federal funding for transportation. This particular project brings together a number of different groups into dealing with this problem. So we have the town of North Stonington, which is primarily rural. We also have the casino, which is driving a lot of traffic in the region. The Route 2 is a regional connector, but we also want to accommodate some cyclists that we saw during our 2019 bicycle and pedestrian plan. And we also want to accommodate pedestrians for making local intra-town trips. We are also challenged with a crash history out here. So in the larger box, you can see the crashes that were injurious or fatal in the last 3 years. I'm sorry, four-year time frame. And just for perspective, obviously Route 2, you can see our whole region in the bottom right. And Route 2 is not the biggest issue in the region, but there is a significant crash history out here, including one fatality, which was a pedestrian. So our goal is to provide multi-mobility that is safe. And that is at times a tall order on Route 2. So some of the challenges are a narrow right-of-way. This is particularly difficult in the southerly part of the corridor, which extends from 184 up to Holly Green Plaza. We also have utilities along the rights of way, including aerial electric, storm sewer, and gas. And we also, because this is a state route, we have to deal with DOT. They do the plowing predominantly during the winter. They get to choose what standards we use on that road, but it also performs critical local functions for intra-town mobility. So you guys are also stakeholders. We have some opportunities. There are some signal upgrades that are happening now through DOT. We also want to time improvements to make the most of the vendor in place paving that DOT does, and make use of any maintenance activities that we can get DOT to do. We want to make this corridor more accessible for people to access the natural environment, the recreation offerings that you guys have, the schools, businesses, and to create some more linkages to enhance economic development. We were tasked with this a couple of months ago to look at how we could better accommodate particularly bicyclists and pedestrians. And, you know, we have to use a multifaceted approach in the central section between the southerly termini of Main Street and the northerly termini of Main Street. That is really a critical area where it should be walkable. And we want to provide a separated path for people and also for cyclists. As you diverge from that area, we think that most people can be accommodated with a wider shoulder that is made safe through the use of buffering. So this is just an explanation of the different kind of modes that we'll use going from north to south. You can see that up near Holly Green, all the way to Holly Green, we'll have a wide sidewalk, a 12-foot sidewalk, which could be plowed with a pickup truck. And we'll also have shoulders that are going to be made more regular so that we can improve driver expectations and provide safe space for people who don't fit on that sidewalk. Maybe people who are starting out in the opposite direction, for example, who are having a hard time crossing, or for through cyclists who would prefer to stay on the road. As we come into the into the central section of the corridor, we would be looking at trying to encourage people to use that sidewalk as opposed to the shoulder. The shoulders would be made consistent with a 5-foot shoulder, which is current standard. Then as we move south, we would pick up that buffered shoulder again, and kind of lead that all the way down. And then at Jake's place, which you guys will be familiar with, the termini of kind of the commercial section of that center phase, we would drop the sidewalk because there's really lower demand in that area. We want to provide a better shoulder. In some areas, there's less than 2 feet out there right now. So this would be a significant improvement for safety for vehicles as well as for cyclists and walkers. This is a very long corridor. So we anticipate that this would be sought after in several phases. The SCOG proposes that phase 1 would be the middle. And that's because this is really the biggest improvement for the local constituency. I think that, being able to walk to school and to recreational destinations and to businesses, primarily the benefits are right there. And the benefits in phase 2A and 2B are still significant, but are primarily safety benefits for of a regional nature for the state, and they still meet our safety goals. And we would like to tackle them after that primary phase. Just run through the cross sections. This is from north to south. So we are starting up at Bellissimo Grande, and we would have this is a little interesting. We need to provide sidewalks on both sides in some areas because it's not easy to cross. We would be adding a crosswalk to provide a crossing between Buono Appetito and the commercial property to the west. Following along south as you go, we would provide a wide sidewalk on the easterly side of the road. We would look at Hewitt Road as it is an access point for the trails and network, and potentially remove that center island to try and make it more regular and easier to navigate for drivers and walkers. The buffered shoulders are throughout in this area. As you come down, there are some extensions to culverts that would be required. We come into Mystic Road and Main Street. Here, you're going to drop those shoulders because we're focusing people into the multi-use path. We're also providing a new crossing across Main Street that doesn't. I think it may not exist now, or I think that we're maybe changing it a little bit if it's there to try and shorten it as much as possible. We're going to try and make the balance of moving the utilities that we need to while avoiding the ones that we can to try and reduce costs as much as possible. As we come through the high school or the school complex area, we would be adding a new at-grade crossing because the tunnel is not ADA compliant. It would be very difficult to handle that with a mobility assistance device. So that would include updating that traffic signal. Coming down further, looking at doing a little bit of work at the Rocky Hollow Road intersection, and this is one that the DOT is already working on, and we've coordinated with their traffic designers to enable their upgraded rehabilitation plan will accommodate what this plan says here. As you come down at Rocky Hollow, we're going to pick those shoulders, the buffers up again. And that's because there is no way that we can create a safe crossing at the southerly termini of Main Street. It's just not possible. It's not signalized, and it's on a curve. It would be very challenging. So we're going to keep the multi-use path all the way to Jake's place. I'm sorry, Jake's Restaurant. However, we're going to pick up those buffers so that people can choose to, if they're going to point south of Jake's, they can cross at Rocky Hollow and keep on going south. As you see where this is significant amount of the widening is shown in red, and it's in this section, in the southerly section, because it is quite narrow through here. The cross section that we are anticipating really does thread the needle of cost benefit in terms of utilizing as much as we can the right of way that we have already developed in order to get a safe accommodation for all of the users in here. But we do have to widen the shoulders slightly through this. We did look at the wetlands layers, and we are well aware that there's, you know, drop-offs and open drainage that need to be accommodated through here. But this is, and that is reflected in the cost that you'll see. As we come into the roundabout, this was brought up as a desire. How can we create more of a gateway, and how can we slow traffic through here? That's a project unto itself, and it was outside of the scope of our work here, but it is not outside of the scope of the region's ability to push for change up at DOT. This is kind of an old school model of roundabout design, and it's very, very large. There's opportunities to kind of shrink that roundabout and slow traffic through that area that would allow better opportunities for multi-mobility, but it is outside of the scope here. We have a preliminary design estimate, grain of salt. The full project comes in at about $8 million. That first phase is the bulk of it at 2.6, and phase A and 2A, which is in the north section, is 1.8, and phase 2B, the southerly section, is 3.47. So as you can see, the southerly section really has the bulk of the cost because we're doing a considerable amount of widening there. And what we did do is we broke out the multi-use path all the way to Jake's. So we see the benefit of that in phase 1 and not in phase 2B. I'll just jump back to the phasing for 1 second. Oh, come on. Oh, there we go. So as you can see, phase 1 from Main Street north, and then it comes down to Rocky Hollow, but the multi-use path goes all the way to the termini of that path. And we did that because the local benefits will be the highest that way. Just in terms of a timeline, in October, we heard from Mike that Selectman Ergo, that he would like to see us look at this issue. We had a consultant on board and scoped in February. We did some stakeholder outreach with the town and DOT in May. And we've got this final plan here in June that we passed along to the town. After this engagement with the Board of Selectmen, we'd like to reach out to DOT and do the same type of presentation, and then get this programmed. You'll note that I have here 2025 and future. It will be a little while. We're not going to be able to do this immediately because our capital plan is booked out until then, but we will push for this. You know, we're going to do a phased approach so that we can get those near-term benefits. The construction timing depends a lot upon both the town and DOT. You know, we have two different levers. We can use STP funding for this project, but that will take longer. If you want it to go faster, then you could push forward with a lot SIP project and participate in the cost of it. However, you know, if we are only using federal funding and state funding, then things may take longer. We have other priorities in the region as well. So it's all in the hopper. We tried to phase this so that it creates financial viability because the whole scope is very large and we need to break it into a couple of pieces. And as I said, that there's a couple of different federal programs that we could tackle. We could use the surface transportation, congestion mitigation and air quality, transportation alternatives program, or HSIP. I think particularly the southerly section, we may be able to try and use some safety funds for. I just want to tell you guys that this was a team effort. FHWA provided the funding, DOT provided both some input and as well as support for the project, and our consultants were excellent. We had Chris Granatini on from Ty and Bond, and they were very, very helpful. And I think that they've provided a good product. I hope that you guys all read it. It's only a couple of pages. So, and that is my presentation. So I'm gonna stop sharing. And I'll take any questions that you have.
Thank you, Kate. Selectmen? Yes. Yes. Yes, the PDF will make available and actually put on the town website as well. I think it's important that we have interaction on this. Obviously, this is not going to happen tomorrow. But, you know, the main, Kate really did a good job of summarizing all the reasons why this is important. Safety issues, the economic development, so certainly we can put that on some posts.
First of all, the wonderful report, very comprehensive. So, you tell me again on funding, pay for the report to be done.
Okay, the question was who paid for the report to be done?
Right. So our task as CCOG is to provide those planning services for the region, and under our planning grant from the federal government through DOT, we perform a lot of different planning activities, and this is one. So this was paid for at a 90-10 split. So 10% was local funding through the COG. So that's the dues that are collected. And the 90% was from the federal government.
I think it's important, you know, we voted to move this forward. And so I just think I want to make sure we continue to talk about this. We're expending resources on this because we think it's important. We said that in prior meetings based on, you know, feedback we're getting from people, observations that we're seeing. So it's important that when the time comes that we can actually put this on the table to apply for funding, that we're kind of behind it and that everyone understands why it's important. So when we look to as Kate described, you know, as far as how we fund something like this, you know, obviously it's stable, so there's different ways to fund something like this, but none of it should really be coming from the town. It should be state or federally funded, so it's just a matter of how we, you know, that's expedited and find funds that are available. I think the other thing is now there's so many opportunities, especially as we're talking about potential another infrastructure package coming forward. You know, maybe there's going to be even more opportunity for funding projects like this. Who knows? There is funding out there. I think it's exciting. It's really good plan, and it was a great team that put it together, and we had some good dialogue on it.
Steve, can you do another sound check if you get in touch with the Okay, can you hear us? You can't hear us either?
I'm sorry, Bailey, can you reiterate? I can hear it when you talk.
It's me, not Bailey, that she can hear.
You can hear your microphone.
So you can hear me, right?
Yes.
I don't, honestly, I think it's because I have a higher pitched voice than the two of you. I think that has something to do with it.
Can you hear this? Can you hear me now?
Yes, right now.
Maybe I could get helium available, like something helium. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's it. So we'll have Jim adjust what we can.
Tell her we were just to say that good job.
The overall feedback is that the team did a great job on this project. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, I'll move on, I guess. So I don't know if we'll move on, or she can't hear me. And now,
Jim says you need to back away from your microphone, but you're really far from your microphone, so I don't.
I'm back here. I don't know if anybody can hear me better now. Jim, can you hear me better right now? Which is fine, because I can talk loud enough for everybody here to hear me. Is that any better? The sound was very much improved in the room, but the sensitivity of the microphones is better. But if you can't hear it online, that's not the point. So.
Right. See, and like it's not even registering on the thing.
Well, maybe tell the people that if they can't hear us, we do understand there's an issue, and we promise that we'll be prepared for the next meeting.
To all those listening online, if you're having trouble hearing, we will be working on fixing this moving forward. We understand you can't hear that well right now. We're doing the best that we can. Thank you. I'm a really good interpreter.
Yeah. We'll move on. And we're going to go into the gate drop off.
Yes. Well, she turned her video off, so she knows she's done.
Hello? Can you hear me? Christine?
We can hear you, but we aren't taking public comment on it during the agenda, just at the beginning and the end.
Well, the only comment I'll make right now is I think this is a terrible disservice to the town because we cannot hear anything that the selectmen are saying. It's very garbled, it's hard to understand, and I think that this is much too much important to not be able to listen to live or recorded later. To not be able to understand what you are discussing and saying unless we're live in the audience is not acceptable for this type of agenda. I'm sorry. Thank you.
You know what? I'm more than happy to adjourn the meeting. No problem with me. So we'll just meet some other time when it's fixed. Carol, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you when you're yelling, but when
Okay, great. I'll just yell then and let you know. I'm gonna go ahead and make the motion to adjourn, and we'll fix this, and we'll come back with another meeting at a better time. We actually did do a great repair to the sound, but apparently it's only good here, and it's obviously not good enough for those attending online. So we'll go ahead and and just adjourn this meeting, and we'll have another meeting when we can, which may be at our soonest convenience, and that's what we'll do. So, have a motion to adjourn. Second. Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.